All right, everything is coming on live. Welcome to Bridges Live, and this is a new presentation called Black Love. I want to introduce myself and my wife. I'm Paul, my wife Janine. And the Smiths, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Courtney Lee Smith, and this is the wonderful Fulton Smith. Wonderful.
So this has been something that's been on my heart. Actually, Janine thought of it a while ago, that we should have a conversation on relationships in the Black community. You want to tell us why you want to have that?
Well, I think because when you talk to a lot of young people, Black people, they'll talk about examples of Black love growing up. You know, a lot of us grew up in single family homes and just don't always know what Black love looks like. And so I just felt like having real conversations about what it takes to really love each other and support each other. What a great conversation to have for others to look at and say, hey, this is us, so to speak, because this is a very challenging marriage, and relationships can be very challenging. And I think that when you can show a healthy side of things, it gives other people inspiration. So that was my thought behind the creating this show.
What do you guys think, the Smith family?
Well, no, you want to talk first? Go, yes, hallelujah.
This is I always speak from my heart. My wife and I always speak from my heart. We don't have no cut card. We bring everything to the table. But I want to say what your wife was talking about. We talk about Black love. I like to say it in terms of understanding love. I'm saying like the categories: Black love, white love, Chinese love, Russian love. I don't look at it that way. I look at understanding love, because no matter what your culture is, Black, white, whatever the circumstance is, you have to have an understanding between two individuals. You have to be able to put it into the work. Whoever individual you married to, white, Black, whatever, that's the way I look at it, because you have to understand each other. You have communication with a Caucasian or Black or Jew. You have communication with everybody. If you don't have the understanding, we have to get out that term as Black love, white love. Love don't have no color. It's wherever your heart leads you, wherever your spirit leads you, wherever your desire leads you, wherever your determination leads you. That's what counts. That's what counts most, because your relationship with an individual is what you put into it. If you go into your relationship is a doubt here and a doubt there, there's going to be an issue. Because when me and my wife got involved, the first word that came out of my mouth, I never let it die. I have to do a lot of adapting. I told her, I have to do a lot of adapting. I didn't went in and say, well, this is the way I'm going to be. This is the way it got to be. And her way is not the way I want to be, or I'm not where she wants. We're not going to work. And I didn't go in that. My wife was discussing this morning. We went into our relationship as an open mind. Open mind means that anything that comes, we're going to deal with it. Mm-hmm. It may not be comfortable. It may be nasty and rugged, but that's what we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to figure it out, because I do so much studying on relationship. I do a lot of studying, and for you to be married, you have to invest your time into a relationship. You have to invest your time into your wife. Your wife had to invest your time in the husband, and y'all have to really understand each other for the relationship to be able to work properly. You're gonna have ups and downs, but it's what you put into a relationship.
The thing is fascinating, because it's only until most of the people who don't know about this is probably the most open I've ever done on a show, many shows, is that my previous marriages were with white women, and my kids are mixed. And so I know Janine had brought up a situation. She goes, it takes a lot of work to love a Black man who's going through these times. And I was like, I'm just a regular man. She goes, no, I'm concerned about you coming home. I say, well, we got into that kind of debate, the discussion, like maybe I'm just not understanding it, and that threw us into a big maze there for a while.
I think what you use that word, that understanding,
Right.
like my husband says, first of all, we have a skewed definition on sometimes what love is.
Wow, yeah.
Because of our backgrounds or the relationships that we've seen, and we use all of those definitions to define what love is instead of our individual unities with this one person. So it's like you and Janine have to figure out, okay, what does this love that we're creating, what do we want to look like? Not what it looked like with somebody else, not what other people's love look like. I mean, we can't tell you, okay, do the things we do, wake up in the morning and your relationship is going to look like ours, because unfortunately we're two different people, and the people that are in your relationship aren't us. So that understanding and those dynamics, so like when Janine brought that to you, she has this in her mind, she has these concerns, and the thing, like you said, you have to sit down and have those conversations so you can understand how that other person feels, how that other person thinks. And I think I really do understand what you're saying, Wayne and Janine, especially during this time when, are you afraid that your husband is so locked into this cultural thing that's going on in the world? Are you so locked in, to the political things that are going on in the world? How is it that you are focusing in this world, and how is it that you are working in this world? So, love, when she's saying loving you is different because the world has already said almost that you have all of these things against you. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten yourself in a place that you don't allow those things to come against you? Like for us, I guess we're some old sheltered people. I mean, we hear the news, we see the news, but we don't become a part of the news. We don't let it absorb and flow through our relationship. It's kind of like, how the scripture says, I'm in this world, but not of the world. And that is where we really put that distinction. And so we don't get so caught up in what the world say the black man or the black couple or the black people are supposed to be functioning in. Because if we get caught up in that, or caught up in just the media roar of the world, instead of just focusing, my husband always say, when you were outside, leave outside and then come in and focus on what it is for us. And that's everything that we do in our relationship. We have to drop off the news. We have to drop off what's going on and make sure that we're truly just connecting with each other. He can tell when something has gotten on my nerves, something little bitty, until something big. But I mean, we all have things that rub us and might be big to us, a little to the other person.
Can I say something? Let me say this to your wife, what you right and say, the culture that you come from, or you gonna be this individual. My answer to that, this is my opinion. My opinion to that is, my wife talked to me about this all the time. I'm bad at this. And she said, whatever you speak, that will come. So I have to try to rehabilitate myself, to establish myself, to move that away. So when your wife come in, or my wife come in, my husband come in, or I come in, if you come in with this attitude, are you going to be that way, or what going to start going back that way? You have to be able to develop your mind to delete that, to move that out the way. Just, even though you may think he may be like that, she may think she may like, you need to put it in your mind to just move it out the way, regardless of what. I don't hear that. I don't see that. I don't think that. Because if you don't have that mindset, that little instant gonna come in and move all the good stuff out the way, because there he go, or there she go. I know I shouldn't have did this. I know I shouldn't have did it. But if you rehabilitate yourself, like my wife always say, just go through a massage your thinking process, massage your emotional feelings, and just move that out the way. That won't come to your face. When it do come to your face, it'd be like a spit, like a light. Back out, it's back out the window. So we try to base ourselves and not be thinking about the stuff that gonna hurt us, to reroute our thinking, because that's how your relationship gets stronger. Because if you spend more time on negative thinking or what this may be, then that gonna overpower everything that's powerful. That's gonna overpower everything that is beautiful. Because it's a darn shame that it takes a lot less work for negatives to overpower positivity. That is my opinion.
I know for I talk a lot about fear and giving yourself into fear and allowing fear to just control your words. And you want to...
I don't finish your thought.
No, I mean, like, sometimes we get into some heated issues over what you think something is and what I don't think it is, and it just seems to be like that. Then communication seems to get lost because maybe I'm so hyperactive on the words being used and the meaning of the words, and then that takes communication into sideways, or it tumbles it. What do you think?
I think that maybe what you're alluding to is that sometimes I'll react to a situation and you'll say that I'm based on my thinking is based out of a fear of something. And it may be, I'm still trying to dissect some of these things, but I also understand because, when you think about the acronym of fear,
right.
It's false evidence appearing real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are times when I know that when we're discussing something and I'll have a thought and it's just a thought, but then I will present the thought to you because I'm trying to, tell my truth and communicate. But although I'm asking a question, sometimes I think that Paul takes it as an accusation, and I'm not accusing, I'm simply asking a question, and then that's when it turns into a heated debate because now it becomes, oh, you're accusing me, and I'm like, no,
it's a question.
I was really just asking a question. So I think that it's like you said, really understanding communication. So, I mean, I don't know if Paul has explained our history, but
off air, I did.
Oh, so
but you can explain to us.
People out there in the live land may not know. So we were ninth grade boyfriend and girlfriend, and hadn't spoken or seen each other for years. Reconnected.
Well, you're not going to forget the part you broke my heart.
He says I broke his heart.
It was in the yearbook. I wrote it in the yearbook.
He really did. He had an awful Jerry curl, bless his heart. And I was one of those. I didn't think I was shallow at the time, but I probably, I would think so. I guess I was, because I broke up with him because of that awful Jerry curl. I was like, I just can't take it anymore. And so, through high school, we saw each other around the hallways or whatever, but just saw each other. But after high school, hadn't seen nor talked to him in years. Reconnected on Facebook a couple of years back, and it just really felt like this instant connection. And so, at this age, we were like, what is there to wait for, to see, or whatever? And we got married. So it's been a little over 18 months of marriage for us, and we are still really getting to know each other. So there's a lot of toes that are being stepped on.
Yes.
And I think one of the other good reasons for creating this show, and we're hoping that we'll be able to invite other couples and, really dive into this thing, is to really not just help ourselves, but help others navigate through this thing called marriage. Mm-hmm. I think especially when you get married so late in life, or you've been living this single life for so long, and you've had no one that you had to compromise with, no one that you had to remember to check in with. If I decide not to come home from work, I want to go and do something right after work, I have to remember, let me let him know that I'm not coming right home, and so it's things like that we're both getting used to, and as I said, stepping on each other's toes and trying to navigate this thing called marriage.
Well, let us go back to
the Jerry curl?
No, I'm gonna do a rewind back to when we were married for our first 18 months. So we can help people who are in a newer marriage, and like you say, it's the toe stepping on moment. And they say a lot of people don't make it past 4 years is because they don't put in the pain. They don't put in the pain. They don't step on each other's toes like they need to find out where are the pressure points, where is it that what the things that we need to be discussing. The first 4 years is like, okay, I don't want to say that. I don't want to hurt that person's feelings. I don't want to do this. But you really have to get the conversation out because that's the only way you learn each other's personalities. You learn what it is. And for us, thank God it helped us, it helped us. And then let me tell you, the best thing to do during your time is to work it out between you all. Between you all. Don't get your family involved. Don't get your friends involved. Don't get other people involved. Because the more people you get involved, the more people you got to figure out how to bring out later on. And opinion.
Fulton's laughing.
Yeah, he's laughing because he know what I'm talking about. He know what I'm talking about.
But what's funny is I'm giggling because
I know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about because some people would rather bring in other people for their consensus.
Okay, I know exactly what he's talking about, but here's the thing. There are times when I'm trying to have a discussion and I'm being shut down because either I'm not using the words that he wants to hear or I'm stepping on toes by using the words I'm using. So if he's not my sounding board, as I told him, he's supposed to be my person.
Right.
And if he can't be my person, then what do I do in that situation?
Well, let me tell you, we started off because in the beginning, let's say this, I am probably a very strong personality because I got used to dealing with law enforcement people. So I was very blunt, very matter of fact, and he'd always say, you don't have to talk to me in this instructor training voice that you have, like you're giving me a lesson. So, it's that place that we do have to realize there is a voice that we have to get with our spouse, that they understand that you're coming to them in a certain way, not as, and you can preface your conversation and say, I'm coming to you as a sounding board. I'm coming to you just to put a bunch of questions out. And sometimes that's how we need to deliver we need to be very specific on what we're bringing so there is no misunderstanding in the conversation. So like if you're bringing something to Paul and you're saying, hey, I just want to vent. You need to just, you might have to preference the conversation with that. Like I have to do that with my husband now. So it's not, so he knows it's not something he need to fix. Not know it's somebody he don't need to go talk to him for. It's not something that he has to straighten out. It's just, hey, this is this moment. Like you say, you're my sounding board. I just needed to bounce off you. And if something hits you, let's talk about it. Let's say, am I crazy? Is something going wrong? Or am I justified, in this place that I'm feeling? And you're going to have to find that safe sounding board. And then sometimes realize in the timing that you're coming. Because a lot of times, back then my husband was an on-the-road truck driver, and on the timing that I was bringing him the conversation, his mind could not take the conversation. He was just trying to wind down off the road. So there are some times that we have to just, okay, let's find the right timing. And y'all are bringing new still. So it is one of those things. Okay, let's find the timing with each other. Let's figure it out. And the more you're with somebody, you can really tune into their timing. Like we have little keys now. I can tell by his breathing. I can tell by the music he's playing. I can tell, by the step of his feet. It's just little things now. When he walks in the door, I can be like, okay, this is a good time. Or I need to just hold this off till he winds down a little bit till we get ready to sit in front of the Westerns and get ourselves. So it's a place. We've created these safe zones of communication within our relationship, so that we're signaling to each other, this is a great time where we're not rushing or getting through something. So it is going to be one of those processes where you just have to grow with each other.
Well, hold on. I don't think anyone should have a conversation during Gunsmoke. That is my time. Let me watch Gunsmoke and let it be, because that's when the bad guy gets put down, and I'm good with that. I'm going to put
pause. That's why you have pause, because see, that means we know at that moment when we've gotten into Gunsmoke, that means we know we've both relaxed. That means we're both in that place, and we know Gunsmoke can be paused, Gunsmoke can be recorded, but sometimes what's going in our mind, if we pause too long, it becomes something that builds up to more than just, hey, what do you think about so-and-so? Now it might become, I'm mad about it because you're not letting me talk about it, or you just ignoring me. But you can tell in the midst of Gunsmoke if they need the first 30 minutes of Gunsmoke even to just kind of come all the way down off of a day as well.
Let me say something. Like I told my wife, I got to do a lot of adapting, and I'm listening to y'all. I'm getting educated by listening to y'all guys. But I'm a football fanatic. I love myself some football. I love to ride me some motorcycles. I love to go to motorcycle races. But when I met this beautiful woman right here, when I told her I had to do some adapting, all that was in my same circle of adapting. Because when Sunday come, or when Monday night football come on, I don't have no conversation with you. Don't talk to me after the game over. But my point is, study your craft. And see, my wife had met me 15 or 20 years ago, 30 years. I never been on this talking to y'all guys. I don't been talking about no relationship, because I'm a man. I know what I'm doing. I got everything under control. I'm the man to bring the money home. I pay the bills. So I ain't got time for it. I got it all under control. And back then, that was a very immature, peanut-head man that thought he had it all together. So as I develop in my relationship, because if you want to understand a woman, especially a woman now, a woman is hard to figure out, and a woman is very emotional. A woman I tell people all the time, a woman think about 7 times faster than a man. A woman think for the future, way down the future. Us men, knuckleheads like me and you, we think for right now. We think what we can get into right now, what we can accomplish right now. And after 2 days gone, that don't matter, because we only think about right now. That's why it's so, a woman is so complicated. So I had to figure out who I'm married to. What I need to do to get the understanding of who I'm married to? How can I understand a real relationship? I ain't not talking about a relationship that I love you, I go out and buy you material stuff, I put my arm around you, I'm in love with you, I walk around holding my hands. To a relationship is a lot more than that. So you have to study your craft like you're in school. If you want to graduate, you got to study your subject. If you don't study your subject, you're gonna stay in the 9th grade for 20 years. So now I'm into studying about the relationship. I'm always tell you all the time, I'm always on the computer. I'm studying. And I'm beginning to learn now. If you figure out your issues ahead of time, or you figure out what brought the issues on, if you just take time to stop doing what you're doing, no matter what it is, nothing is more important than your wife. Nothing is more important than your husband. You stop doing what you're doing and put it to the side. You can't put it on pause. If you can't wait till you get back, it's not meant for you. So your wife and your husband is very important. Stop it. Stop whatever you're doing. It don't matter. If you're at work, if your wife calls you, say, I need to talk to you, and you tell your job. My wife called me, I go talk to her. I know it's hard to do. It's hard. I know you ain't want to do that because you got to make that money. And then your wife do the same thing. But when your wife take time to call you and say, babe, I need to talk to you. When she calls you and say, I need to talk to you, she got to kind of strike on her voice. You need to stop doing what you're doing and go find out what she wants. Vice versa with the husband. Because that's how you develop a good understanding. Then when you develop a good understanding, then friendship come in there. Because that's how before you must get the love. We have a problem because we want to love first. But you get the understanding, then you get the friendship, then the love comes. Because once you get the understanding out of the way, and then you get the friendship out of the way, then you have no problem with love. Because I tell my wife all the time, love got an attitude problem. Y'all get upset with each other. You want to go in your own little room, or you want to get on your car and go down the road, or you want to go for a walk, or you want to go into your little shut-up party. That's love for you. But understanding and friendship, they're going to stick around because they understand everything that's going on with you. Because you get to understand with your wife and you understand with your husband. And when your husband come in, you understand what's going on with him. You understand. You know what not button, not push. You sit him down to the side, you hold his hand, say, baby, you got to talk about it. Oh, babe, I'm all right now. We got to talk about this because if you don't talk about this right now, tomorrow at this same time, something's going to be added to the list and you're going to have so many other things to
unpack.
No. But just
One day, one moment, one conversation.
Yes, 'cause I learned this from this beautiful lady here. I learned this from her. I tell everybody I learned it from my wife because I ain't know nothing about no relationship. I'll raise up watching my daddy come home, bring the money and put it in a croaker sack and put it on the table and tell my mom, say, get what you need out of that and give me the rest. That's all I realized. That's all I remember about my daddy. And that's what I brought into my relationship. Working hard, paying all the bills. I'm the man in the house. So I decided, no, that's not working. That's not working. I need to be more of a real, mature man, not a demanding man. No, I want to be a mature husband. I want to be a mature friendship. I want to be a mature partner. So that's what I had to do. So when you do all that, you got to put all your egos to the side. Especially a man. I'm talking to me and you now. Right. Especially a man. You got air on that chest. It's certain things that a man is not going to do. I don't care how you come to me. Certain things, well, you got to swallow that. You got to push that out of the way because you'll never have a strong relationship with your wife if you don't put all that man pride to the side. I'm telling you that for a fact because that's how we've been involved so long. If I don't get involved in my wife, I didn't get involved in my wife because she looked good. Now she's a very nice looking woman, but that part of me was blinded. My dad always told me, and my mom told me, said, you want to make your relationship last longer, fall in love with the person's mind and the person's heart. That's my opinion.
Do you guys, what do you think about nonverbal cues? Because Paul and I get in a discussion a lot of times where his words say one thing, but his body language says another. And he goes, well, that doesn't mean anything. And so what do you feel about nonverbal cues?
Well, I actually think verbal language is a lot louder than what you say. I do. Because your body language expresses your emotions at that time. And it might not be what you mean to come off, and it might be just in a space that you're in, but it says either I'm not really paying attention to you, or this is something I don't want to talk about, and your body language gives off all of those things. Like a lot of times my husband's having a conversation with me and he know I'm not listening because I'm in the middle of something, and I'll have to say, hold that conversation, because if you want me really listening to you, I gotta stop doing what I'm doing, but he also knows that if I stop at that moment, I'll forget where I am. I have focus problems, so I have to finish what I'm doing. And I'm very, like, hey, don't just come in the office or come when I'm in the middle of something and want my full attention, because my attention was already on something. So we have these cues to make sure that this is a good time to start just talking, because you'll get offended and your feelings will get hurt because that person is not giving you that attention that you need for that conversation. So I do believe 100% that your verbal, what you give off, a lot of people is not what you say, it's how you said it, and the how you said it does come off in a different way, because I can say, oh, that looks nice, or I can say, oh, that looked nice, or, so it's all of the things that come with it that makes it more powerful, more believable, more palatable, and we don't think about those things. The thing is, we spend so much time talking about communication in our community, but we don't understand communication is about listening. Communication is about body language. Communication is about our actions after what we said. Did we do something? Did it resolve something? Did it turn something? We have to understand, and that's the conversations that me and Fulton have a lot of time. Okay, now was the real? We'll have a conversation and then we'll come back and say, what was the root of that conversation we just had, so we can make sure there was some resolution. We don't want to just be having conversations. We want to make sure it was resolution, and then we say, and then most importantly, the word my husband keep using today is understand. We want to make sure we both understood each other's sides. So, like, if you all having that conversation and your body language or the attitude that came off, sometimes you might need to say, hey, well, let's just talk about this later, or can you come back to me later when you're able to give me a little bit more attention, instead of sometimes we want to keep pushing that conversation. We want to keep pushing that conversation, because I know it's times, my husband will call me on the phone, or I'll call him on the phone, and if he's in the middle of working on somebody's car, this is not a good time, especially if the car is already giving him a bad time. And then I'm trying to ask 50 million questions, and then I'm irritated by the answer he give me, and he's just giving me an answer, so I'll get off the phone so he can get back to what it is he's doing. You know, I don't see his body language, but I know his voice so well that I know he's saying, get off the phone so I can get back to work. You know, it's just, so it's those things.
Fulton Courtney, I mean, for me, and I think, I don't know if this has, it adds a nuance to it, but the way my brain works is that words are important. Of the words you use have a true meaning to them. I am not similar like. I am not kind of like. The answers are answers, and that throws her off. So if she says something, if it's something she says and the word she used does not apply to the meaning of the words, my mind gets way thrown. Does that make sense? And then maybe because it has a lot to do with the way my brain works, or...
Okay, and let me tell you, that works that way for me and Fulton, because I am a word analysis. I'm a word, and let me tell you, that was... we were probably the opposite. It probably annoyed me because I used to say, choose your words very carefully, because and now I've gotten to the place, but the difference is I don't get so caught up in the word. I'm caught up in the entire conversation. I allow the whole conversation to come out so that I can get the meaning of the conversation. And then I come back and say, okay, what we've learned in communication is to repeat back. So to make sure that I understand what you said. Now, this word to me means this, but however, I think the conversation that you're having, and I mean, it sounds very kindergarten.
No, it isn't. It's very pertinent, I think.
But the thing is, if we don't, and we make an assumption that the word, that information that person put out there meant something other than what it meant, you can have that conversation can go in a totally different way. And let me tell you, you all won't have to have conversations like that forever. It just starts off like that because the word person is doing it for clarity. And that is how I used to have conversations with my husband when it began. I used to say, okay, are you telling me? Because I want to make sure I got this word right that you're telling me, because I don't want to get offended and I don't want to get twisted and I don't want to come somewhere. And he used to get so irritated with me because he was like, now you are just being just too much. But you have to understand when somebody comes from a certain place that words do have specific meanings, and you've been taught if this word is used and this word is, you know, when you're from a teacher trainer perspective and everybody's telling you to change those words because somebody else can take it to mean this, that's how you've learned to communicate. And so with my husband, I had to say, okay, turn that brain off. Let's get back to home world. And I know he got something to say.
and I understand where you're coming from, husband. I understand where you're coming from. So I was on that same end.
No, she decided
No, I'm talking about the way he talking, the words he using towards his wife.
Oh.
I don't understand. But it's like, I'm going to make it simple, because when I talk to somebody, I like to put it where the ghost can get it. It's like this. My daughter was in school, and she was having problems passing the grades. She makes D's and F's. And so I had to go down to the school and talk to the teachers. I got all the teachers together, the principal and all that. We started having a conversation. I asked her, how are you teaching my daughter? What method are you doing teaching my daughter? She said, well, your daughter's very hard to learn. She said, I teach your daughter like I teach everybody else. Then a red flag pop up then. I said, you teach my daughter like you teach everybody. I said, each individual in this class got a different brain. Each individual in the class think different. Each individual in the class accepts stuff different. I said, you don't got all your degrees. You supposed to know how to handle my daughter. You know how to teach her in a different way that you can teach everybody. You can't teach my daughter the same way you're teaching everybody else. My point with you is when you come to your wife, because my wife got some big words. She got some words that I don't know how to spell. I don't know how to pronounce. But when she talks to me, I say, please put it where the ghost can get it. Make it real simple when you talk to me, because you make it real simple when you talk to me, there won't be no conflict, because that's the problem. I mean, when a person, I'm trying to bite my tongue when I'm saying, but when a person is highly educated, I say it like, I'm sorry, when a person is highly educated, they come out with these big words, and the other person that they're throwing at them, and they figure they can comprehend everything they're saying, that's not correct. So we need to teach ourselves, because we need to teach ourselves how to be humble with the words that we are speaking. Try to teach ourselves where if I throw a word at this individual, I got to make it real simple where she or he can understand it. And if we take time to watch what we're saying and how we spit it out, then a lot less problems will be it'll be gone. It'll be gone because I speak some words to my wife sometimes. She don't understand it, but I have to stop when I'm doing it and rephrase myself because that we can do that. We choose to throw it in one because it's a lot easier to spit the words out of my mouth. Okay, this is what I was taught on. This is how I got my degrees. I got these big words. I'm gonna throw it right at her. I'm gonna throw it right at him. If she don't understand or he don't understand, I'm sorry. But that's the one way to approach it. That's my opinion. That's the one way to approach it because you're always gonna have complications. So kind of humble yourself. But we go to church all the time. We listen to the pastor preach. And this pastor sit there and tell you, say, you can get up in church and use all these big language. So, about 10 people, this church have about 5,000 folks. And this pastor say about all these big words I be using, out of 5,000 folks, only about 20 of them will understand what I'm saying. So why he would go that way to do all the big words? He said, no, I don't go that. I make my preaching as simple with everybody understand it. Because people coming to church get more frustrated leaving out of church than it was in the church. So we as individuals ourselves, we're responsible who we talk to and how they receive our message. Not because she didn't understand, not because he didn't understand. The individual that delivering the offense, they are responsible for the way they shoot their voice to another individual. But once again, that's just my opinion.
No, I actually agree with that. I mean, I know early on when Paul and I would have conversations and sometimes he would go, and so I would joke. I was like, can you bring that down to my SAT level? So we would have that as an ongoing joke. I think one of the things that he was talking about where we have a little bit of difficulty is because he really does, where a lot of times people use slang or inference or in a conversation things are implied and sarcasm. So Paul he has a hard time understanding those types of things. So for example, if I said to you, I just went outside and there's a million dogs out there. We know that there's not literally a million dogs out there. We're just thinking there's a lot of dogs out there. But in his mind, he's going to sit there and think, well, how is there a million dogs out there? So I'm finding myself having to, when we're having conversation, I have to really choose my words very carefully so that the conversation doesn't end up getting sidelined because now I have to go back and explain what I meant by using this particular word. So that's where where my frustration sometimes come into play, and then his frustration because then he's like, he sees me getting frustrated and he's just like, I'm just asking for clarity, and then I'm like, how is that not clear? And and so when you go back to understanding, I'm understanding that is not who my husband is. So I have now really take time to think about the words that I'm going to use before I express whatever it is that I'm going to say. So if I go outside and there are a lot of dogs outside, I'm going to come inside and say, there's a lot of dogs outside. Even if I can get an exact number, there's about 10 dogs outside because I need to be very specific when I speak to him.
And Courtney, I what you said too, I try to get the whole conversation out so you can get the full context. So I have stopped asking really a million, in the middle of her conversation, she come in the house, man, there's a million dogs outside, and then she's going on to whatever, and I'm thinking, a million dogs? So I've learned to stop saying, where my brain is not well, this doesn't make sense, to try to go along with the conversation. But then when I go back, and I'm like, but you said, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, you said, because my mind, because I can do things in verbatim. And I say, well, you said this, and this. She goes, well, that's not what I meant. And then it goes, now we don't even know what we're talking about anymore. And now it's either emotional or it's a feeling. So it's yeah.
Let me say it to you. Y'all, I don't know if y'all watched that movie, Daddy's Little Girls. You remember that movie?
Yeah. I remember that movie.
All right, let's go to that movie. Now, he was involved with trying to date this, what her name?
A lawyer, Gabriel.
Gabriel was the rich lady. She was the high class lady. He was old, kind of like me.
Yeah.
And so
figurative.
And so he couldn't compare his situation. I mean, all her girlfriend were trying to get her away from him. Yeah, because he don't meet up to her standards. But she a big time lawyer. He was a little grease smuggler like me. And when they went out to date, he said, "Would you like to go into my hood to understand where I come from?"
Right.
And see, that's what we have to do as individuals, because you and your wife came from a different atmosphere. So what you have to do, you have to open your house door and just step out. Don't go to your left, because that's where you come from, to the left. You need to step out and don't go to the right with her. And sit and just meditate with her. Hold her hands and let her talk to you. Don't interrupt her while she's talking. Just sit there and hold her hands, looking at her dead in the eyes when she's talking to you, and let her put all her chips on the table and let her explain where she come from, how she was, where she at, and just what she understand. Because with you understand what she's saying, and then she understand what you're saying when you come from, then y'all guys will be on the same page. You won't be talking over her head, and she won't be talking over your head, because that's what my wife is. Because hey, look here, I'm in kindergarten when I met her. I was in kindergarten, and I know I was in kindergarten. Ain't no sense me trying to say I'm up where she at. No, I'm in kindergarten. That's why I told her, I said, "Oh, baby, I got a lot to learn. I got a lot to learn. It's gonna be hard work, but I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna deal with it." So that's what we have to do as individuals. That's how the relationship works. That's why I always I put emphasis on this quotation marks. Have an understanding. Understanding means sacrifice. That's what the word understanding. Make a sacrifice to understand where she coming from. She make a sacrifice to understand where you coming, and y'all take that and cut that in half and make that whole. Then y'all guys, boy, y'all be like this. I love you.
Yeah, you can't tell where one begin and one end.
Yes.
But okay, let me tell you this trick, Dr. Paula. This is gonna hurt you. It's gonna hurt. But this is the thing that you have to understand. You're not with a client.
Yes.
You're not with a student.
Yes.
You're not in an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
You're not required to remember everything verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
It's painful. Yes, it is. This is not when you need to have a recording on in your brain. This is a time when you really need to be tuned into the emotion of the conversation.
Yes.
Not the words of
Yes.
the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I know you believe the words have more power than the actual what's coming out of it. But when it's coming from somebody in love, the emotions have way more power than the words that come out of it. Because
more action on the emotion.
Because the emotion is the root of the issue. And that's what everybody who is in a relationship, this is what I tell my clients who actually comes to the cross from me when they're telling me all of this stuff that's going on, but I be like, but your emotions are telling me this. Your emotions are telling me something totally different. And being as smart as you are in this world, as the word person, I know that you can say, okay, that means this is something that is intense because she's emphasizing this. She's actually exaggerating this. That means this is something that is important because the reality of it is not what she's saying. The reality that means this is important. This means something she's trying to get a point across to me. Because like my husband, every time he used to say, everybody always, and those were words I just could not stand because I know it ain't everybody. I know it ain't always. It can't be, mathematically that's impossible. And, I'm a statistician, by training. And I'm like, that's impossible mathematically. So using those words, like you say, always, everybody, all the time, it was just like you're throwing off the dynamics of it even being possible. So now I know your conversation is not the truth from this point on. But what you're trying to tell me is this is important. You're emphasizing a point. This is what I need to hear. It's not the words, it's the point that you're really trying to get to. Something is important, and that is what you have to hear. Something is important. So it is this brain when you say, okay, I'm educated. I've been around these people who require me to be educated, who require me to remember everything, who requires my brain to be on 100. But when I'm at home, my spouse wants me to be in an emotional brain with them. And that is what she's saying. Can you hear my feelings? Can you hear my thoughts? Can you understand? And that is the key of this conversation. Can you understand where I'm coming from? And then can you understand where I'm coming from, but can you join me in that place of understanding? And that was what my husband was always saying. Can you see my viewpoint? Can you understand it? And can you actually join me here? Mm-hmm. And then when you can say that, that means that relationship is in a really in tune place. And we become so disconnected sometimes on these word levels because of the world has gotten us here. If you don't say a certain word or you don't say a certain thing, people don't perceive it or take you a certain way. But the thing is, the wonderful part of it, that means I can be a kindergartner at home too. Also, it allows both of us to be in a relaxed place, so that means you can actually be and allow that inner person to be a little bit more free too when you're at home. And then that's why I say you can join her at, well, she likes to joke, wherever her SAT is, come back to her SAT. That's where you all can be. Get back at that place of high school in the 9th grade, whatever it was. And I'm not saying become immature, but I'm saying find that place of happy, that place of that medium that y'all can meet at without having to be, I think in a relationship, we don't have to be such adults. We adult in the world, but we don't have to adult in our relationships. We don't have to adult. We just have to be what it is we need. And really it is, we just really want our inner child, our inner person to feel loved and happy and excited.
When you leave your office, open your file cabinet up. Get you a folder with your name on it. Write your name on it, and put your general. You use the general in your office. Use the general. Open that folder up and put your title in that folder. Shut that folder back up and shut that door back up. And then when you come in your house, you is a private, just like your wife. Mm-hmm. Both of y'all are private. There ain't no generals in the house. Both of y'all guys are private. So when you come in the house with that attitude of private, you and your wife have a nice, peaceful conversation, a nice understanding, everything you talk about. But leave the general out, because the general gonna cause you to go back to the office and sleep in the cabin.
I like to think we're going to be closing the show. Thank you, Smith family. Thank you, Dyer family, for all this. We want this to be an open conversation to talk about the things I don't think most people in relationships openly talk about, and to see the conversation, to understand the dynamics between long-term relationships, that it is the beginning relationship that we have, and the spaces in between. For those of you who have comments and conversations, you can inbox us, and then we can either bring it up on the next show, and if you want to come on with us, please let us know. But this is about developing and seeing what a relationship is, are, and can go through. So I think there's a three dynamic, and I just feel blessed to, you, Courtney, and Fulton to be, to do this with us, and this is great. And I said, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, already the first show, I feel like I'm walking away with so much more knowledge already. My birthday is tomorrow, and
happy birthday!
Thank you. And we had a getaway. And the evening did not go as I think either one of us had hoped. There was some tension there. But after this time with you guys and showing our vulnerability and not trying to make like life is so perfect, which people paint that picture on social media, like everything is so perfect, it puts me in a place where when we go off air that Paul and I can maybe really sit and really unpack what took place yesterday and the root of it and move forward from it. Mm-hmm. And that is really my hope, because I really, after this half hour, I don't know exactly how long we've been talking, but just has put me in such a more calm space. So I am really happy and blessed that we were able to do this. Mm-hmm.
Let me say this, then, a closing point on this, Hush. And you say y'all had a little difficult and y'all little get together. But I'll say this, as my grandma say, you're still breathing. Mm-hmm. There's always room to improve. Okay? That wasn't a disaster. And when you're still breathing, so y'all guys can go in your room or go in your prayer closet and sit and talk about it and make it better the next time. Because it was a learning process. It's not something negative. Because if you didn't get to that little snag in your relationship, you think you got it going on. You get contempt. I don't say it first, but you get too relaxed with each other. So it's always good to have that pile out on that stove raised up a little bit where you can get burnt, because y'all guys don't get burnt. You think you got it under control. No individual got it under control. So every once in a while, you put that little arm down that fireplace and get burnt. Ouch! I need to bring my arm a little high. So now you're still breathing. There's a whole lot of room for getting together.
And I'm glad that you all brought us, because it took us back down memory lane too. So it always brings you back to know where that you've come through, how you've grown, and some of the things that you still have to look forward to. But I believe, for people who say their relationships just start off perfect, some people, they dated for long enough to, do that fine tuning. They went through all those things through a dating phase, for people who say they dated 5-10 years, so a lot of those edges might have been cut off before the I do time frame. But I do, like, for us, we married 45 days after meeting. We didn't even meet each other in high school, have all that pre-preference, so I mean, literally, we married strangers 45 days later, and we were in that place, like you all said, we old enough to know what it takes to make it work and putting in the work that it takes, changing ourselves. So both of you all are going to have to do some compromising, some changing, some blending, because that's what it takes to become one. So you're an ingredient. As you all blend together, you all will just become one good main dish together.
Delicious dish.
So it's really just about, kind of shaking out the stuff, that's not needed in your relationship. Yeah, it's a part of your makeup, who has made you as this person, but is that what's needed in your relationship to make your relationship thrive? And that was for what me, okay, is this needed? Do I have to be the person I used to be in order for our relationship to work?
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Black Love, presented by Bridges Live. And we'll be back here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing this twice a month. If we get together, unless time commits itself, but twice a month. And then we come back to this and have an open conversation about relationships and where it can go, where it could be, and what we need to do. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.